Welcome to the Shoulda Bet More podcast presented by Gold Boys. Coming up on the show, Chris Fallica, the Bear of Fox Sports, will join us. We'll talk some baseball, some soccer, some NFL, college football. It's that time of the year where you just mix and match and do a little bit of everything. So excited to talk to Bear. And last time we talked, I did a lot on the Yankees, and I don't mean to turn this into the Yankees podcast, but they really are the biggest story in baseball right now is their downfall, their demise, and there are other notable things that happened this weekend in baseball. Braves did win 2 out of 3 against Philly, so any sort of slight chance to get back in that division stays alive. They lost the first game Friday night. Fried got bombed. Trey Turner had a couple homers. Philly had a 10-game lead, but Atlanta wins the next 2, so now it's down to 8-7 in the loss column. If you're Atlanta, and I know Snitker, the manager, said, hey, we were down 10 games plus to the Mets a couple of summers ago. We came back and we won it, so we're still not out of it. So keep that in mind. That was one thing to keep an eye on. There's a Mariners-Astros race brewing, but really the story is the demise of the New York Yankees as they lose 2 out of 3 to the Red Sox. It felt like when the Yankees got swept, the Reds finished off the sweep the 4th of July. Felt like, all right, this is probably, hopefully, if you're the Yankees, this is rock bottom. They had a lead against the Red Sox the next day. 1 out away, 1 strike away. Holmes gives it up. How Holmes made the All-Star team, by the way, I have no idea. Then they lose that game. Cole bounces back, pitches a good game Saturday. They get the 3 homers from Rice. Then Sunday, they do absolutely nothing. Devers hits 2 homers. Devers he's not a good hitter. He's a great hitter. He is just a tremendous hitter. Nobody's as good as Judge, but man, he's as close. He is, life on the line. You could do a lot worse than you need a hit. You could do a lot worse than having Devers up because he just swings so hard. He gets good at bats. He is a tremendous player. Now, maybe this is, hey, I watch the Yankees a lot, and he does especially well against the Yankees, but my goodness, Devers is a tremendous, tremendous offensive player. And, I mean, compare the Yankees and the Red Sox just get more out of their talent, and the Yankees certainly have flaws up and down the roster, but Boone never gets annoyed by anything. You know, they don't run hard. Torres doesn't run hard. LeMahieu doesn't run hard. Volpe has gaffes on the bases. Soto did something ridiculous on Sunday. We got away with it because they dropped the ball, but they just do gaff after gaff, base running blunder after base running blunder. And none of it bothers Boone. He's, hey, it's a long season. We'll be okay. It's always Mr. Positive. There's no fire. There's no intensity. And I know Torrey was even keeled too, but I think behind the scenes, Torrey was a little more intense than this. I would love for a new manager. It's not going to be the case. But the Yankees are just in a complete free-for-all right now. They've lost 16 out of 22, and they are 25-1 to miss the playoffs. The Royals are 6 games behind. The Royals are the last team out at the moment. Astros are 7 games behind. They're right behind that. Maybe they win the division. Maybe Seattle comes in the mix here for a wild card. I think that's certainly possible. Yankees are no lock to make the playoffs. If you look at the rest of their schedule, at least until the All-Star break, and this is the last week before the All-Star break, it's Tampa, then it's Baltimore. Then they get a bunch of games against the Red Sox. They bet a bunch of games against the Phillies. They still have to play Baltimore a lot. And the way they're playing, look, they just got swept at home by the Reds. They're not you can't pencil in wins against anybody. And the scary thing, if you're the Yankees, Judge has been healthy, for the most part. Soto's been healthy outside of a couple days here and there. And Judge has been tremendous, and they're still losing games. What if Judge hits a slump, or what if Judge gets hurt? 25-1 to miss the playoffs, I don't think is that bad of a bet. I really don't. They'll probably make it, but at 25-1, the way they're playing, this is just a team with a ton of holes. And I think I started to, harp on this a couple weeks ago where, you know what, there's not enough. You could talk to me about trade deadline. They'll get this guy or that guy. There's just not enough trades you can make to plug up all these holes with. Relief pitching, LeMahieu in the lineup is just a complete waste. Their catchers don't hit second base. I mean, there's just a lot. Volpe slumping. Verdugo hasn't done anything. If there weren't so many other issues, people would be saying, hey, Verdugo, you need a new outfielder. You got to get rid of Verdugo. So, again, I don't want to turn this into a Yankee podcast, but I do think that's the biggest betting story right now, or at least the biggest story in baseball, is the downfall of the Yankees, who have lost 16 out of 22 and 25-1 at DraftKings to miss the playoffs. I don't think is a bad bet. I really don't. As Devers continues to just destroy the Yankees. The frustrating thing about the game Friday night for the Yankees, the Red Sox gifted you the game. They gifted you runs, that walks, botched double play balls, errors, and they gave it to you, and you still couldn't win the game. So I don't know. I mean, this isn't the old Yankees where Boone would have been out of a job long ago. This is just not the way they do things. There's no sense of urgency. There's no accountability. But I do think the Yankees are in a ton of trouble. And I mentioned the other day, Baltimore's going to win this division. I'd be shocked if the Yankees, I know it's a long season. I would have said a month ago, hey, the Yankees are in great shape to win the division. You don't want to be too overreactive, but you do have to react to what you see. And to me, the Orioles are just a much better, much more complete team. Those head-to-head games for the Yankees are not going to go well against Baltimore. Baltimore's still only minus 130 at DraftKings to win the division. I think that's insane. I think that should be over $2. Baltimore is the better team. So Baltimore to win the division. Yankees 25 to 1 to miss. I think are really good bets. We do have some day games on Monday for change. Mets, Pirates, afternoon game, noon, 12:30 Eastern, total 8.5. Scott against Keller. So that's fun. Always fun when you get weekday games. We don't get a lot of them. We didn't get one the day before 4th of July, after 4th of July. It's like pulling teeth trying to get these games on when people can watch them. Summer people are off. And so you do get one Mets and Pirates, then you get Cardinals, Nationals. Not a great Monday slate. It never usually is. Yankees are off. Braves, Diamondbacks, not bad. Rangers, Angels, Rangers starting to play a little better. So you get some games at least. At least you get some games here on a Monday, but just a complete disaster for the Yankees. Other non-Yankee points, Skeens makes the All-Star team. He's still 60 to 1 at FanDuel to win the Cy Young. I don't think that's a crazy bet. Why not? I mean, he says, I think 9 starts, 10 starts. He's got a 2 ERA. He's 7-8 strikeouts in pretty much every start. He's just been dominant. He hasn't lost. His team hasn't lost any game he started. First guy in history to be drafted number 1 overall and make the All-Star team the following year within the same calendar year. I guess that's how it was phrased, but this is almost 1 year to the day he got picked first overall, and now he's going to be an All-Star. Just a great story. He's minus 330 for Rookie of the Year. It's 60 to 1 for Cy Young at FanDuel, and he's like half that price at DraftKings. I don't think that's a bad bet. Other things, it's funny with baseball. It's just such an interesting game where you just see things you never seen before. And Jose Miranda of the Twins, 12 straight at bats with a hit. I think that streak ended sometime Saturday, but he went the span of 3 or 4 games where he got a hit every single at bat. That's not the record. I think the record like 15 or 16, but that was up there. That's on the short list. 12 at bats, 12 hits. Yeah, I mean, you might go another 100 years without seeing a streak like that. That is an incredible streak. Will Smith, the catcher for the Dodgers, hit homers in 4 straight at bats, and then Rice hit the 3 homers for the Yankees on Saturday, which is not as noteworthy as the other accomplishments. But you get these fun things in baseball that you haven't seen in a while. But Yankees a mess. Braves inching their way back. We got an AL West race. Brewers still hanging on in the Central. Nothing major happened this weekend, but trade deadline coming up soon. Awards starting to heat up. Judge and Ohtani both minus 330 to win MVP. You can get the field at plus 250 at both those. So if you got Judge at good numbers, you got Ohtani at good numbers. Although Ohtani was never at the price Judge was. Judge got to 16 to 1, 18 to 1 at one point. You can hedge off and you can't win both of your bets, but you can at least certainly the plus 250 if you have a nice number on Judge. That's a route to go if you think Judge is vulnerable, which look, with the way Yankees are playing, I don't know that they're just going to automatically hand Judge this award. So we'll see what the Bear thinks about it. From Fox Sports, Chris Fallica, he is up next. This is the Shoulda Bet More podcast. All right, we are back. Shoulda Bet More podcast. You can catch him on Fox, the Bear Bets podcast. It is the Bear, Chris Fallica. Bear, it's been a while, man. I think the last time you were on was maybe before the NCAA tournament. I think that was the last time.
Yeah, that does sound about right. I remember we were kicking around like we're like the UConn price, and is UConn still is it worth it? Are they too short? And they weren't short enough. It wound up being.
And neither of us spat out NC State. Between our two genius brains, neither of us could produce NC State to the Final Four.
No, and you knew it was going to be a tournament where you were going to get at least one totally random deal. And I blame Houston for that because had Shed not gotten hurt, they would have beaten Duke, and then they certainly would have beaten NC State. So, but you knew we were going to get an outlier in there, and ultimately we got that final with the 2 best teams. So it was all right in the end. We had our UConn futures and drove across to Massachusetts to be able to bet the game, and it all worked out well.
Pretty soon, college football. Before we get to that, and we'll get to some soccer. Where are you at with the Yankees here? Is this just a blip in the road, or is this season going to end like basically the last 10 or 12 have, where they flame out some time before the World Series?
I think it's somewhere in between. I don't think it's a blip in the road, but I don't think it's just I don't think it's the sky is falling, because I actually thought about the other day when I texted you and Gil and Fez and Todd. I was like, are the Yankees going to miss? Is it worth looking at Yankees to miss the playoffs? And I thought the price was ridiculously high, because I think they were like 5.5 clear in the wild card. And I was like, they lose 2 out of 3 or get swept by the Red Sox. There's another game. The Astros are gonna make a charge. The Mariners are still winning that division right now. You know that the Royals are on a bad team. Like there were avenues there, but I still don't think they fall out of the playoffs. Now you brought up last night about is the win total, is that under 90, is it under 93.5 back in play? And finally, after struggling with the numbers, I was like, okay, if they go 40-32 the rest of the way, that puts them at 94. So it's, I still think they're in good shape to go over as well.
Yeah, you spit out some math back at me where you gave me like a 210 game season.
I know. I'm like, yeah, they gotta go like 52, and I'm like, wait a minute, yeah, we've added like 30 games to the regular season now.
25-1 to miss the playoffs. I mean, if somebody said, "Hey, I'm going to bet him 25-1 to miss the playoffs,"
Why? Yeah,
I couldn't. I mean, how could I argue?
You look at the schedule though. The second half of the year, the schedule they get.
They just got swept by the Reds at home. I mean, the schedule, they're playing so badly. It's almost like, you don't want to say the schedule doesn't matter, but they're playing so badly. And like nobody in this division, Tampa, Toronto, Boston, which is going to be a lot of the games, I would imagine. They still have a bunch against Baltimore. I mean, they could lose to anybody the way they're playing. They're just playing so badly. There's so many holes too. And I mean, curious what you think about the deadline. I'm sure they'll get somebody. And you and I always joke about, they always just go for like the cheapest solution, the quickest band-aid. They don't go shopping in the deep end like they used to, but there's just so many holes. LeMahieu, the bullpen, first base, second base. Okay, Rice will stick, but I mean, where do you start? Who's your wish list right now? If I, named you assistant to Brian Cashman, like where do you go?
I think the number one call that everyone's going to make is just to the White Sox. Is Garrett Crochet, is he available? And I think the White Sox are in a tough spot with him because he's certainly someone you want to build around. And you brought this up a couple of months ago, and I was like, why the hell would you trade him? And then you think about it, and like these young pitchers, he's off of an arm Tommy John already. Didn't he have Tommy John already? I think.
Not sure. Most of these guys have, but I'm not sure. But it's
yeah, arm trouble, young, and like you're the White Sox, you're years away from content.
Right.
Like he's not going to be like what he is, and his value will never be higher than it is now. And every team out there is going to want him, whether it's the Braves, whether it's the Yankees, whether it's, I mean, the team that has the most obviously to get him is the Orioles. Like the Orioles have a boatload of prospects to be able to trade away, and guys who haven't even come up yet. So like if the Orioles are serious about winning a World Series, I think you'll see them trade a couple of those big prospects to the White Sox for another arm. When you put Burns and Crochet together, top of that rotation with some of the Grayson Rodriguez and some of the other guys they have in that rotation, that becomes a very formidable team.
Yeah, that's why I don't think the Yankees can get him, will get him. It's just, how do you outbid Baltimore? If the White Sox say, all right, we'll sell if we get the right offer, but we're going to field offers, and it's going to be a bidding war, there's just going to be so many teams lining up. I don't know that the Yankees are just going to blow him away for that. And look, he would help. He'd help anybody, but they need bats. They need bullpen. I mean, there's just so many. And again, you can't trade for a whole new team. You've got like 4 or 5 legitimate holes where, I mean, some of it just has to be, some of these guys have to play better, which is scary.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I mean, the LeMahieu deal was terrible. He had the 1 year, and you knew at the time it was just an absolute outlier of a year. And he's been a black hole. And Rizzo, who cares when Rizzo comes back? No. And Stanton, I mean, at least he's been better than he was last year. But no, you're right that outside of Judge and Soto, there are holes abound in this lineup, and it'll be interesting to see what they win. As someone who is holding an under 93.5 win ticket, and I think I might have gotten a 94.5 somewhere along the way somewhere. I'm going to have to look, but yeah, I'm hoping that we have a good sweat here. Hope they're in the playoffs. Obviously, I want to root for my team to win and do well in a year where I think it's kind of wide open, just like baseball is every year. But I wouldn't be disappointed with 92 and 70. That's for sure.
At least they have all-star closer Clay Holmes, who somehow made the all-star team with, I think, 5 or 6 blown saves. It feels like it's so many more too.
It does. It was funny because I was going to say I'd love to see, like, do you get called the A's about Mason Miller, and I'm like, he's another guy who is going to cost an arm and a leg, and he's another young guy who the A's are a franchise that's a disaster. So like, is he someone the A's are going to want to hold on to?
Maybe you call the Reds and see if Frankie Montas is available. Maybe they can have a Frankie Montas reunion tour.
I was gonna say what was it? Friday was Friday the day that Frankie Montez officially became a Yankee.
4th of July is when he pitched
Wait,
against them. Yeah, 4th of July.
Thursday. Yeah,
Yep.
Thursday was.
What any other baseball bets before we move on to other stuff? Any other baseball bets you think are worth discussing?
Well, you brought it up the other week about Skeens potentially Cy Young. That number is gone now. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the NL. I mean, there are some clearly some good candidates. I keep coming back to AL Rookie of the Year. I'm like, there's a bet to be made there, but like, who is it? Is it Cowser? I mean, who the heck? Uh, Langford, right? Who's been great. Like the price is short now on him. It's just kind of it feels kind of like a black hole right now in some, because the MVP awards aren't playable. Like I took a shot on Royce Lewis at like 200 to 1 a couple of weeks back. I mean, because he was back and he'd gotten off to the great start, and it was like, okay, what if the Yankees start slumping, and what if Judge does get hurt, and what if the Twins do make a run and wind up winning that division, and the Guardians kind of regress a little bit. So I did take a Royce Lewis MVP shot, and it looks like it's just one of those that it was a great number, but there's no way Judge is going to lose. Like, where are you with Ohtani though in the NL? Like, the numbers suggest that it's a done deal, and like I can't find someone who I want to bet, but like, can you give him MVP just for being a DH and in that lineup? I don't know.
The problem is you got to find somebody to fade him on. I guess you don't, because FanDuel's offering a field. I think DraftKings might have been offering it too. And both MVP, it's weird. Both MVPs, same price, same offer. Judge is minus 330. The field is plus 250. Ohtani's minus 330. The field is plus 250. If you wanted to take the field to plus 250 again, I know with awards, you're trying to raise money for a long time. It's basically damn near Thanksgiving by the time you get this, but plus 250, just from a sheer numbers, like value standpoint, you get everybody else. I mean, look, it's a long season, recency bias, where if somebody finishes strong, Ohtani, gets hurt or finishes with a slump, plus 250 is not that bad.
I'm looking at this now. I'm just the players. I mean, I have Elio Cruz at a good number, but he's probably not going to win now. Like, here's something I never would have imagined saying. Now that I pulled it up while you were looking, and I feel bad we all little sports talk radio about trade deadline deals, and well, what if the Yankees offer blah 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 for good old WFAN fan trade talk? Like, and don't laugh, if the Mets make the playoffs, could Lindor maybe win MVP?
Oh my God. I was gonna bring up his name, but I said I swear to God, I was looking up, it was 45 to 1. I was like, that's just stupid. Don't say it out loud.
Yeah, I said
Probably
it out
not.
loud.
Probably not. But what number are you seeing? I was even 45 to 1.
I don't even see 45 to 1 anymore. I'm on DraftKings and I see 30.
FanDuel's 45 to 1.
Okay.
Media likes him. He's always in a good mood, smiling and everything. I don't know if smiles are enough to win the MVP.
Terrible years he had.
It would take a lot. It would take a lot. I'd probably need a little more than 45 to 1, but that's where you're at here, where there's just not that guy to jump up and take it from Ohtani.
I mean, Tatis 35 to 1, Kettle Marte 20 to 1, Freeman 11 to 1. You're not going to bet. I mean, you're not going to bet against his own teammate, but I mean, both of them won MVP awards. Marcelo Zuna 15 to 1, and Bryce.
And Betts isn't going to have some miracle recovery where he comes back in a couple of weeks, right? And he can, because Betts is 200 to 1 at FanDuel, but that's dead money.
I think so.
I think so too.
CJ Abrams at 80 to 1, and he's had a great year, but the Nats probably aren't going to make the playoffs, even though I know you and Jason Weingarten made a good case for them. They gave a couple games away last series, so that'll come back to haunt them.
Bohm at 80 to 1.
I don't know about
I don't either. I mean, could a pitcher win it? If Ohtani slows down, could a pitcher win it? Probably not, right? There's not that. I mean, like Wheeler.
I don't even see a pitcher listed, at least on DraftKings. I don't see a pitcher listed anywhere at all.
Yeah, Wheeler's 200 to 1 at FanDuel.
Okay, yeah, that would probably, that's what I was looking for.
It's just I don't know. It's a weird year with it. It's a weird year with it. I sort of feel the same way in the American League where Judge, look, he's the rightful leader right now, but he's had a history of getting hurt. And I mean, here's the scary thing back to the Yankees. They've played so well. Judge has been incredible through this whole thing, and they're still playing poor. So what if he hits a slump and then the Yankees sort of miss the like if the Yankees ever did miss the playoffs, I don't know, is Judge still going to win it? Maybe if he hits 55 homers, he's going to win it no matter what. But I don't know.
Yeah, like I have a Jose Ramirez ticket at 40-1 from before the year. So I mean, I'm holding that, and I kind of think that that's probably the guy. If for some reason Judge gets hurt and the Yankees don't win the division, then you're talking about, I think, a pretty good debate between Henderson, Ramirez, and maybe Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah. Henderson's
But
going to have a hell of a case, though, especially if they're going to win the division. The shortstop putting
yeah,
up those numbers.
yeah,
Henderson would be the guy that would take. We were just saying how
and
there's nobody to take it from Ohtani. There is a guy to take it from Judge.
right, and that's the thing. You're not getting back to the player versus the field. Like instead of taking Gunnar Henderson at +280, you just take the field at +250. That way you covered yourself if
Yep.
it's someone else. So like he's not even a playable number. And then you look at you said for the rookie of the year we were looking for some bets. As my page gets super slow and loading here, unfortunately.
Uh,
So
college football. One team that's
yeah,
overrated. One team that's underrated.
I think Miami is a little overrated. Again, this is a little alumni pessimism from me. I've heard all about Miami and gonna win. This is the year they're going to win the ACC. This is the year they get there. Picking up Cam Ward in the transfer portal, picking up Damian Martinez in the transfer portal, bringing in the wide receiver from Houston, bringing in some defensive linemen. Like you hear about all these moves that they make, but they're still, they got an easy schedule. Florida State is a little bit down after last year. Clemson is a little down. You beat Clemson last year, but this is a Miami team that's won 10 games once in the last 20 years. So until they do it, I am always on edge. I'm always concerned, and to see this team basically being the chic pick to win the ACC, especially after blowing some of the games that they blew in magnificent, spectacular coaching meltdown fashion last year, that worries me. Will we see some? I don't think we'll ever see a decision like the Georgia Tech failure to take a knee again. But maybe it's a little alumni pessimism that's keeping me down. But I don't think this is an automatic 10-2 go to the ACC championship game type of year for Miami. A team I think is underrated, I think, is Iowa State. And I know there are going to be people out there who roll their eyebrows and here he goes again with Iowa State. But now you're looking at a new Big 12. You're looking at a Big 12 without Oklahoma and Texas. They're a team that returns so much offensive talent. They're a team that got off to a bad start last year, and then finally some kids played, and it was kind of a transition year where they still wind up. I think they wound up winning 8 games last year, maybe. I think they maybe went 8-5 last year, if my memory serves me correct. Maybe 7-6 after a bowl game. I don't know, but they're a team that they have a bevy of offensive talent backing, and their defense is always salty, always difficult to play against. And I think in that new look Big 12, where you're basically looking at teams 1 through 8, or like the fact that Utah, Kansas are like the top 2 teams in terms of the betting odds to win that league. Maybe Kansas State too. I think they're probably up there. All those teams are the same. Like there's no minimal difference, if any difference at all. So I think Miami's a little bit overrated, and I think Iowa State is a little underrated.
Miami's at 9 though in terms of wins. Is that too? I mean, you have to get 8 if you want to play the under. Would you suggest an under? Or you're just not buying like the hype.
9,
9
9,
unders
see,
plus
9
money.
feels right.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
it's hard because that first game against Florida means so much.
Yes,
And I think there are 3s out there now. Like I would take Florida
I
plus
would take
3.
too.
This is an off season where Florida has been shit on. Can I say shit on you
You just did, yeah, absolutely.
on the better? But okay, I did good. But then it's an in-state rival. It's Miami going on the road to an SEC team. Maybe this is not the best Florida team out there, but motivation is such a big factor in college football, and getting the full field goal with the Gators. Like if Miami go there and win, if you could tell me what was going to happen in that first game, that
Yeah.
would dictate how I would feel the rest of the season. I think 9 feels right. If you look at it, like the schedule, well, they have NC State too, right? It could be better. I should know these schedules off the top of my head by now, but I'm so far behind with soccer that I need to memorize these things. Let's play the give them a win dog game with Miami in the schedule.
Well, it's just so hard to play even that game because
yeah,
how are you looking at it? Are you looking at it with the talent, which is top 15, top 20 talent? Or are you looking at it with the coach, who the coach can basically blow a game to anybody?
like South Florida, Alex Golish's offense that's going to be a tricky game. South Florida is going to be better than what they are. Virginia Tech, with the quarterback there, Virginia Tech's a team that got better as the year went on. At Louisville, I can't play over 9. It
What
would
would
be
you play? What would you play under?
I would play under. I think ultimately 9-3 is probably where they land. But I can't expect them to win 10 games. I'd be, if you could find a 9.5 with maybe a little juice,
Yeah.
that would be the way I would go. I did make a Heisman bet, by the way, and I'm sure the number is long gone at what I got it at, but I would take a look still. I think he's still somewhere around 60, 65 to 1 in some places. Is Julian Sayin, the Ohio State redshirt freshman quarterback kid who transferred in from Alabama. I'm not sure coming out of spring camp that Will Howard solidified himself as the starting quarterback for Ohio State. I think that schedule is so soft that they don't need a quarterback until they play Oregon on October 12th. Like they're going to blow everybody out before that. I think that's an opportunity for Sayin to pick up some valuable experience. Maybe by the Oregon game, he is the starting quarterback. And I think the Ohio State starting quarterback is someone you're going to want to be holding a Heisman ticket on. And I think if you can get him still somewhere in the 60, 65 to 1 range, that would be someone I would take a look at. Yeah, because I heard your conversation the other day about how these Heisman markets have been kind of gone. And I remember when you were going through this, and I remember hearing about Louisville and Lamar Jackson, and that was the year I made a massive mistake and didn't bet Jackson to win the Heisman. I bet Louisville to win the ACC. I bet Louisville to make the college football playoff. I bet Louisville to win the national title. And what didn't I do? I didn't bet the very bottom baseline thing that would have had to happen for all of the other things to happen, was Lamar Jackson winning the Heisman at 100 to 1. So I'm not going to make that same mistake twice and pass up a good number on someone who might have been a little bit off the radar at the start. But you're right. All of those other players, you can't bet Carson Beck at 8 to 1. Like you can't bet Shedeur Sanders. You can't bet Travis Hunter. You can't bet Will Howard at that short price, not even knowing if he's going to win the job.
Dart's a popular one. Dart at 15 to 1, which
Yeah,
I kind of buy a little bit. I could see
yeah,
it, but 15 to 1's
yeah,
it's a decent bet. It's not a great bet.
yeah. It's not. It's a decent bet. Nico's an okay bet if Tennessee. I mean, but again, even that price is reduced. So you really have to dig down the board and find someone that isn't necessarily a household name now. But all the shops that offer these, they have guys that were so dialed in on college football that they know all about these guys and the potential upside. So you're really looking to throw a dart for a price down.
Last one before we get to soccer. How many games did the Jets win?
Am I crazy if I say 11?
I don't think you're crazy at all. I think that's a reasonable schedule after they get past San Fran. They do have these markets last undefeated. If you think they have a chance to beat San Francisco, the schedule gets pretty easy after. And I don't know. I mean, look, I fell for it last year, and I feel like people are going to be reluctant to get burned 2 years in a row, but sometimes that happens. Sometimes we saw it with Cleveland. Remember they traded for Odell Beckham, and then they were everybody's pick to win everything. It didn't work out when everyone was off. And the next year, when everyone was off, I think it was the COVID year, they sort of popped. Sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes it's the year after everyone expected. So maybe this is the year.
Yeah, no, and I agree. Like, and you could even play that market, the last undefeated team, and just play a little San Francisco money line. I mean, what are they? I mean, that number is going to come down. You know, people are going to be on the Jets in that game because I think there's still some doubt about Brock Purdy and the Niners. Who knows if Ayuk is back? Rodgers coming back on that game on Monday night. Like the Jets are going to be a very popular game, so you might be able to get a cheap money line on the Niners that game to kind of offset a little bit of that. But if they do pull that upset, and like even and again, it made lightning strike down upon me for saying this, kind of like suggesting Francisco Lindor could maybe be a long shot NL MVP stab right now. Like, could you bet them to have the best record in the league? Like, I think they were like 16, 18 to 1 or so to do that. Because like I say, if you look at that, if they beat San Francisco, there's a real chance they're 8-0.
It really
They
is.
won't be. They won't be. They'll lose somewhere. They'll lose to JJ McCarthy will start for the Vikings in week 5, and that's the game that they'll lose.
Or the Sam Darnold revenge game in London or something.
Yeah, or like Drake May will burn me in New England. But even after that New England game, it's like Houston at home, and they should have beaten Houston last year. Arizona, who the hell knows if Kyler Murray is going to be ready? Anthony Richardson at home and the Colts. Seattle, who knows? You got division game at Miami, game against Jacksonville, and I think they're overrated. Rams, Buffalo, there's a chance for them to make a run, and it's not the Chiefs in that difficult division. Like, I don't know, man. I've made worse bets, so yes. Like I think you can make a case for it again. I said last year in August that I was so excited about the season, and it was over 4 plays into the year. But you're right. A lot of times it's that next year where you're kind of like that post hype sleeper that sure. Maybe it pans. The bet that I did make in the NFL, and I think the price is still pretty good. I bet the Ravens at plus 240 to miss the playoffs.
I like that one.
And I think there's still prices around in the 200s or so. I mean, the division's going to be better because Burrow is back. You know, the Browns are good. The Steelers, as brutal as their schedule is, they should be improved. And then you look at the non-division schedule that the Ravens have: Kansas City, Dallas, Buffalo, Chargers, like Eagles. Like it's hard. Like you can probably find some if you can find a stray number on their win total and maybe go under on that. But like what's it going to take in the AFC to be a wild card? I mean, because you got Jets, Dolphins, and Bills in that division. In the East, you got at least Ravens, Bengals, Browns in that division. You got probably Chargers, Chiefs. Like it.
Somebody good's not going to make it.
So, at least one good team is not going to make it, and maybe Lamar gets dinged up this year and tweaks a hammy or something. Who knows? Like I got, like I said, I got plus 240. I think they're still around plus 210 or so on Ravens no playoffs. So that's one bet that I do really like in the NFL.
All right, soccer. Empty the notebook for me. Spain, France, Netherlands, England. We have Copa. What should we be betting? What do we got here?
I think both Euro semifinals. I think draw and under 2.5 are in both games are plays that you should probably make. I think in the Spain-France match, like the fact that Spain are down Pedri, one of the main midfielders, are down 2 backs in Danny Carvajal and Robert Lenormand. France don't have any suspensions, but there are questions about Mbappe's health, and they have not looked good. They have not looked really dangerous outside of a bit of the game last time out, where they finally started Camavinga, who was subbing in for Rabiot. So like unless Deschamps like completely goes against his grain and sits Rabiot, and like I can't see this game being high scoring at all. It seems like every single French knockout round game under under Deschamps is the same thing. It's 0-0 forever. It looks like the underdog or the opponent, in this case Spain, because Spain's a small favorite, has them on the ropes, and then here comes an own goal. Here comes extra time, and the keeper makes a great save, and they wind up getting by. But if you look at those knockout round games, in the 12 knockout round games, there were a total of 8 first half goals. And you had 5 of the knockout round games go to extra time, including both England matches. So, I mean, it just goes to show, like, in these high stakes, high stress, high anxiety matches, teams are very, very hesitant to go forward and really take chances. So I like both under 2.5 and draw in both matches. Like the same thing with England. Like, it's going to be as ugly and boring as every England match has been. And the fact that you have a lot of these players from the Dutch side, Virgil van Dijk, Nathan Ake on that back line, they know all these players from the Premier League. I think it's low scoring. I think it's tight. I do think if you look at player of the tournament in Euro, I think it's cut and dry with Spain. If Spain win, it'll probably be Rodri, even though Lamal can probably make a case for it. If Netherlands win, I think it's going to be Cody Gakpo. England, you could be looking at a Stanley Cup final Connor McDavid type situation where the player on the losing side winds up winning. I think some people may just default to Jude Bellingham because he had the goal that saved them against Slovakia. But I think there's a bet to be made here on England for player of the tournament. I think you can bet Bukayo Saka. I've seen 33-1 out there available for him. They had the goal in the second half, the last match, which saved him against Switzerland. He had a great penalty. Remember, he was the subject of some racial abuse in the last Euro because he manned up and he took the penalty like some other players didn't want to, and he missed. I think moving him positionally, it affected him. And the fact that he played so great last game, if they win moving forward, like, it's not going to be Kane. It's not going to be Declan Rice. It's not going to be any of the normal guys that you would have thought. I think Saka at 33-1 or so is worth the play. And I think for France, everyone before the tournament would have thought it would have been Mbappe or Griezmann or Dembele. Like, if France were to win, it comes down to 3 guys. N'Golo Kante is someone who could win. His price is a little bit diminished now, and he hasn't been as good the last match as he was early in the tournament. He could still win, but I would suggest making 2 bets on player of the tournament with France if you think France is going to win. I would look at Maignan, the goalkeeper. He's around 50-1. He made some incredible saves in the last game against Portugal, or else they would be home. And I think the way these next 2 games will go, I think there will be low-scoring, defensive-minded games. Maybe they go to kicks again. So I think Maignan, the keeper, at 50-1 is worth a bet. And I think William Saliba, who his price actually has dropped. He was around 50-1 a couple of nights ago. He's still mid-20s, but the French defense has been really, really good. And if you watch these matches, he's getting a ton of hype and a ton of conversation from the announcers, that I think William Saliba is someone worth the play at around 25, 520. He might even be a better price in some places right now. But the great thing, if you bet some of these bets early on in the tournament, I know there are a couple of shots that just posted field bets before the tournament. Like, if you bet it at 20-1 or whatever it was, you now have, at least on the shot that I found it, you now have N'Golo Kante, Ruiz from Spain, Cody Gakpo, William Saliba, and Maignan were all members of the field. So it's like you're in a good spot there. Obviously, that bet's long gone, but I think the prices on Maignan and Saliba especially are still good. And now Saka is someone who you can bet in the straight market. If you want to move over to Copa, I think however you want to bet Argentina halftime, full time, Canada under a half a goal. I think those are probably the 2 best bets you can make. If you look at what that first match was between Canada and Argentina, Argentina's expected goals were up around 3.5. and they wound up winning 2-0, including a late goal. If Canada defend the way they did against Venezuela, allowing as many opportunities, I think this will be a pretty cut and dry, maybe 2-0 type of win again, but in a much more definitive fashion. So Argentina halftime, full time, and to keep a clean sheet would be the best bets there. And I think in the other match, I think it's going to be pretty similar to what you saw from Uruguay and Brazil. I think Uruguay is going to kind of ugly it up into a street fight because they're confident in winning that type of match. That's what makes them so dangerous. Like they can win 1-0 or okay, we want to go to kicks, fine, we can do that. We have experienced penalty kickers that we're confident in. Let's do that. Whereas I think Colombia, as good as they are, they want a little bit more space. They want a little bit more of a free-flowing type of game. And I don't think they're going to get that. Now, if there are a bunch of yellow cards early in the tone of the match is dictated that way, maybe that opens it up a little bit and would give Colombia a little bit more of an opportunity. But it worries me a little bit as well that a lot of people are on Colombia now. The bandwagon's filling up after being able to lock in great prices early on in the tournament, 7-1, 8-1 to win the tournament. Now their price is down, and they seem to be gaining momentum, especially off of a 5-0 win over a dreadful Panama team a couple days ago. I like Uruguay to advance. I think maybe these have been the two best teams in the tournament. It's a shame that this isn't the final, and the winner will ultimately have to play Argentina. Is at a relatively easy road to the final. But I played Uruguay to advance at -120, and I even played under 1.5 at +150 because I think there's a really good chance that this ends 0-0 or ends 1-0 to Uruguay as well, because I think the way this game is going to be played is going to be dictated by Uruguay.
Bear, I appreciate the time. Bad news, the Yankees lost. They do lose 2 out of 3. They lose 3-0. They go down without a fight. Good news, they did hold Rafael Devers to only 2 solo home runs. So
that's impressive. So now they have to go now they have to go what 40 and 31 to beat me now, right? On the total. So
I haven't updated the math, but I think you're in the ballpark. I think you're in the
somewhere. I mean, math was not my strong suit, but
25 to 1 to miss the playoffs. By the time people are listening to this, I'm guessing that ticks down a little. Less people are paying attention.
It'll tick down. So the Braves took 2 out of 3, right? From the
they did. They lost Friday night with Fried, but they won the next 2. So that they just keep doing this where you feel like, oh man, they could actually miss. They're not playing well. Then they do just enough to keep their heads above water.
Yeah, because I mean, teams like the Giants and Pirates, you can't really take them seriously. I think in terms of making a run. The Mets and the Snakes are 500 right now, but it's only early. It's 5 games, 5 games up on the D-backs and the Mets from falling out.
Yeah,
they're probably going to make it, but I feel pretty good about locking in that 20 to 1 or whatever it was way back when. So again, it'll be one for the betting Hall of Fame to put up there. Great number, great value, and loser. We have a lot of those.
All right. When's the pod up? Bear Bets.
Bear Bets pod. The newest episode to preview the semifinals will probably be up on Sunday night, maybe Monday morning, depending on when you're going to post this. But maybe right around the same time. Myself and Jeff will kick around the semis. It's actually a good one too. We talk about we get into Judaism as well. We get into camp. Fall camp, we get into Bears surprise position in high school football. It's good. It's fun. It's entertaining.
This is a tease. Now, I mean, I would listen to it anyway, but now yeah, you sold it. Bear, appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Anytime, bud.
All right, that will do it. Thank you, the Bear, Chris Fallica. We will be back Wednesday. Rate, review, subscribe. See you then.